After my last portrait tutorial, one of you asked me to make a full video about comparison. So that's exactly what we're doing today. There's no outline stage this time. I'll show you how a single comparison can lead to a complete portrait like this. Before we start, I want you to remember one thing. Every portrait has mistakes. Mine does too. The difference isn't avoiding mistakes. It's knowing how to find them. Throughout this portrait, I'll show you every mistake I make, how I spot it, how do I fix it, and, just as importantly, which mistakes aren't worth fixing. Before you draw a single line, take a moment to study the portrait. The first thing I look for isn't the eyes or the nose, it's the light. Where is it coming from? Here, the light is hitting the left side of the face, which means most of the shadows fall on the right. That's where we'll spend most of our time. It may not be obvious yet, but it'll make perfect sense as the portrait develops. Now let's choose our first reference point. For me, it's always the nose, because it's right in the center of the face. Once the nose is in the right place, every other feature becomes easier to compare. I'll show you exactly what I mean. First, I lightly block in the nose with an HB pencil. Now here's the important part. I don't start with the light. I start with the darkest shapes. The nostrils, the shadow along the right side, the areas the light barely reaches. Those shadows give you the clearest reference. They're much easier to trust than the lighter values. Now you might be wondering, how do I know if the nose is the right size? Here's the key. Once you've placed the nostrils and the two side planes, you've already established the width of the nose. Now let's find the eye. A simple comparison makes it easy. Take the width of the nose, rotate that measurement vertically, and you'll notice it reaches almost exactly to the beginning of the eye. Now we know where the eye starts, but what about its width? It's the same reference again. The eye is almost the same width as the nose. So before worrying about eyelashes or tiny details, just focus on the overall shape. I built it the same way as the nose. A light sketch first, then the darker values, then the midtones. Forget the pupil for now. Getting the outer shape right is far more important. Once the eye is in place, the eyebrow becomes much easier. Measure the distance from the upper eyelid, then use the small shadow between them to place the lower edge of the eyebrow. Its inner edge lines up with the eye, and the outer edge extends just a little farther. Now here's something interesting. I actually made a mistake here. A mistake that could have ruined the entire portrait if I hadn't caught it. See if you can spot it before I reveal it. Leave your guess in the comments, and later, I'll show you exactly how I found it. One thing that helps me every single time is taking short breaks. After every few stages, I step away from the drawing. When you come back, you're no longer looking at individual features. You're looking at the portrait as a whole. And that's when proportion mistakes become much easier to see. Now let's place the second eyebrow. I don't guess where it goes. I compare it. The bottom angle follows the same horizontal direction as the first eyebrow. Its starting point lines up with the right side of the nose, and its thickness matches the first eyebrow. For now, I only drew the first section. I leave the rest unfinished, because I don't have enough visual information yet. If I force it now, there's a good chance I'll make it too long, or too thick. Now we can finally place the second eye. And here's why the nose was so important. The gap between the eyes is almost the same width as the nose. The second eye is almost the same width as the first. You'll start noticing something. The face is full of repetition. Relationships. The same measurement keeps showing up again and again. Once you learn to recognize those patterns, portrait drawing becomes much less about guessing and much more about comparing.
Now let's build the second eye. The process doesn't change. A light sketch, a soft transition, then the darker values. But there's one important difference. The second eye doesn't sit exactly the same horizontal line as the first. It's slightly higher. Now, before we move on to the mouth, here's an optional step. If you want to double-check your main proportions, you can compare your drawing to the reference on your phone. Just make sure both images are about the same size. Then compare the major landmarks: the eyes, the nose, the eyebrows. If those are accurate, you're on the right track. But don't rely on this every time. Use it as a learning tool, not as a shortcut. The goal is to train your eye. Do not replace it. Now, let's move to the mouth. At first, it feels like a complete separate feature, but it isn't. I don't place it by guessing. I use the surrounding shadows to find its position. They're only guides for not the final edges, because they'll keep changing as the portrait develops, and that's something I want you to remember. Finishing one area doesn't mean you're never allowed to touch it again. I adjust my drawings all the time. I add, I erase, I refine. That's a normal part of the process. And here's something even more important. Don't expect your portrait to be a perfect copy of the reference. If it were, that wouldn't be drawing, it would just be copying. Your goal isn't 100% identical. Your goal is for someone to recognize the portrait without needing the reference beside it. That's the difference. Some small differences are completely normal. Now we can finally find the upper lip. But I don't start with the lips, I start with the mustache. Why? Because the shadows in the mustache tell me exactly where the upper lips belongs. Its width begins almost where the eye ends. Here's another comparison. The distance from the base of the nose to the lower lip is almost the eye is the width of the better and the corners of the mouth. Begin roughly below the middle of each eye. Now I have enough information to place the mouth with confidence. One last thing. The mouth isn't perfectly horizontal. The left corner sits slightly higher than the right. Now let's move down to the chin. If you're struggling to find its lower edge, this is one of the few times I'd recommend using your phone as a reference. Match the size of your drawing to the reference, then compare the major shapes. It's a great way to build confidence, especially while you're still training your eye. Now here's where I made an important mistake. Without realizing it, I was comparing everything to an eyebrow that I'd drawn slightly too wide. At first, I didn't notice it, but the moment I started shading the chin, the face suddenly looked much wider than it should. That's when I knew something was wrong. I went back, corrected the eyebrow, and everything immediately started falling back into place. This is one of those mistakes you can't ignore. If you leave it, the likeness of the entire portrait will suffer. Now that the proportions are back on track, I can lightly place the hairline, the neck, and move on to the ear. The right ear begins around the level of the upper eyelid and ends just below the base of the nose. When I shade it, I keep the values consistent. The darkest parts of the ear should feel just as dark as the shadows on the right side of the nose and cheek. The left ear follows the same process, just with lighter values because it's facing the light. Next, I work across the forehead until I reach the hairline. For the hair, I built the dark mass first, using charcoal powder. Then I switch back to my 8B pencil to define the strands. Finally, I use an electric eraser to bring back the highlights where the light hits. Now only the neck is left. Just like before, I start with the darkest values, then gradually build toward the lighter ones. Before I finish, I notice the face still looks slightly too wide. So I make a few final adjustments. I narrow the right eyebrow, add a little width to the chin, deepen the shadows inside the hair, and refine the edges of the face. This is why comparison never stops. Every new area gives you more information about the ones you've already drawn. Finally, the eyes. I begin with a light layer, darken the pupil, then lift the highlight with the eraser. I repeat the same process for the other eye. Then I make any final adjustments around the face until everything feels balanced. That's what I call finishing a portrait. Remember, portraits aren't built one feature at a time. They're built one comparison at a time. So, did this change the way you think about portrait drawing? If you'd like me to use this same comparison method on a different angle, Tell me who I should draw next. And if you learned even one new thing today, please leave a like and subscribe. It helps more artists discover these tutorials and helps me keep making more for you. I'll see you in the next one.